everyone, hope you're good today. So sorry I didn't see you yesterday, but it's time for the next chapter of the Enchanted Wood. So the children have just got to the very top of the tree and they've seen the big cloud above them and the little ladder that leads through from the topmost branch. So let's find out what land they go into when they go through. So the next chapter is called the Roundabout land. One big broad branch slanted upwards at the top of the faraway tree. Joe climbed up onto it and looked down, but he could see nothing, for a white mist swirled around and about. Above him, the enormous thick white cloud stretched with a purple hole in it, through which the topmost branch of the faraway tree disappeared. The children felt tremendously excited. At last they were at the very top. Joe carefully pulled himself up the last branch. He disappeared into the purple hole. Bessie and Fanny followed him. The branch came to an end and a little ladder ran through the cloud. Up the children went, and before they knew what had happened, they were out in the sunshine in a new and very strange land. They stood on the green grass. Above them was a blue sky. A tune was playing somewhere, a strange tune going on and on and on. "It's the sort of tune a roundabout plays, Joe," said Bessie. "Isn't it?" And it was. And then, suddenly, without any warning at all, the whole land began to swing round. The children almost fell over, so suddenly did the swing round begin. "What's happening?" said Bessie, frightened. The children felt terribly giddy, for trees, distant houses, hills and bushes began to move around. They too felt themselves moving, for the grass was going round as well. They looked for the hole in the cloud, but it had disappeared. So here the children are in Roundabout land, and everything is moving round. Okay. "The whole land is going round and round like a roundabout," cried Joe, shutting his eyes with giddiness. "We've passed over the hole in the clouds. We don't know where the topmost branch of the faraway tree is now. It's somewhere beneath this land, but goodness knows where." "Joe, but how can we get back home again?" cried Fanny in a fright. "We'll have to ask someone for help," said Joe. The three began to walk away from the patch of green field in which they were standing. Bessie noticed that they had been standing on a ring of grass that seemed darker than the grass around. She wondered why it was. But she had no time to say anything, for really it was dreadfully difficult to walk properly in a land that was going round and round like a proper roundabout all the time. The music went on and on too. Hurdy-gurdy, hurdy-gurdy. Joe wondered where it came from and where the machinery was that worked the strange roundabout land. Soon they met a tall man singing loudly from a book. Joe stopped him, but he went on singing. It was very annoying. "Hi-diddle-ho-diddle, derry-derry-down," shouted the man, whilst Joe tried to make himself heard. "How can we get away from this land?" Joe shouted. "Don't interrupt me." "Hi-diddle-ho-diddle," sang the man, and he beat time with his finger. Joe caught hold of one of the bony fingers and shouted again, "Which is the way out of this land? And what land is this?" "Now you've made me lose my time," said the tall man crossly. "I shall have to begin my song again." "What is this land, please?" said Fanny. "It's Roundabout land," said the tall man. "I should have thought anyone would have guessed that. You can't get away from it. It goes round and round always, and only stops once in a blue moon." "There must have been a blue moon when we climbed into it," groaned Joe. "It had certainly stopped then." The man went on singing loudly. "Hi-diddle-ho-diddle, derry-derry-down." "Silly old diddle-derry," said Fanny. "Really, we do seem to meet the most peculiar people." "What I'm worried about is getting home," said Bessie. "Mother will be anxious if we're not back when she is. What shall we do, Joe?" "Let's sit down under this tree and have a bit more to eat," said Joe. So they sat down and munched solemnly, hearing the roundabout music going on all the time and watching the distant hills and trees swinging round against the sky. It was all very strange. Presently, a pair of rabbits lolloped up and looked at the children. Fanny loved animals, and she threw a bit of cake to them. To her surprise, one of the rabbits picked up the cake in its paw and nibbled it like a monkey. "Thanks," said the rabbit. "It's a change from grass. Where do you come from? We haven't seen you before and we thought we knew everyone here. Nobody new ever comes to Roundabout land." And nobody ever gets away, said the other rabbit, smiling at Fanny and holding out its paw for a bit of cake too. Really, said Bessie in alarm. Well, we are new to it, for we only came about an hour ago. We came up the faraway tree. What? Cried both rabbits at once, flipping up their long ears in amazement. Up the faraway tree, did you say? Goodness, you don't mean to say that's touching this land? Oh, yes, it is, said Bessie, but I expect as this land is swinging round and round that the topmost branch might almost be anywhere underneath it. There's no way of finding out. Oh, yes, there is, said the first rabbit excitedly. If we burrow down a little way and make a hole, we can see whereabouts the faraway tree is underneath, and we can wait for it to come around again when the land swings above it. Well, we came up from the tree just where the grass was rather darker than the rest, said Bessie. I noticed that. Do you suppose that as Roundabout land swings round, it will come back to that same place and we could slip down the topmost branch? Of course, said the rabbits. We can easily burrow down that green patch of grass and wait for the land to turn round just over the tree. Come on, quickly, there's no time to lose. All of them jumped up and sped off. Bessie knew the way, and so did the rabbits. Soon they were back in the field where the ring of dark grass stood. There was no opening now leading through the cloud down to the tree. It had gone. The rabbits began to dig quickly. Soon they found the ladder that led upwards. Then they made such a big hole that the children could see right down it to the large white cloud that swirled below the Roundabout land. Nothing there yet, said the first rabbit, getting out a little handkerchief and wiping his dirty front paw. We must wait a bit. I only hope the land hasn't swung on past the faraway tree altogether. The Roundabout music went on, and then suddenly it began to slow down. One of the rabbits peeped out of the hole below and gave a shout. The land has stopped going round, and the faraway tree is just nearby, but we can't reach it. The children peered through the cloud below the ladder and saw quite clearly that the faraway tree was very near, but not near enough to jump on. Whatever were they going to do? Now don't try to jump, warned the rabbits, or you'll fall right through the cloud. But what shall we do? Said Bessie in despair. We must get on the tree before we swing around again. I've got a rope, said one of the rabbits suddenly, and he put his hand into a big pocket and pulled out a yellow rope. He made a loop in one end and then threw it carefully at the topmost branch of the faraway tree. It caught held. Good. Fanny, slip down the rope first, said Joe. I'll hold this end. So Fanny, rather afraid, slid down the yellow rope to the tree, and then just as she got there, the Roundabout music began to play again, very loudly and very quickly, and the Roundabout land began to move. Quick, quick, shouted Fanny, as the land swung nearer to the faraway tree. Jump, jump! They jumped, and the rabbits jumped after them. The Roundabout land swung off. The big white cloud covered everything. The children and the rabbits clung to the topmost branch and looked at one another. We look like monkeys on a stick, said Joe, and they all began to giggle. My goodness, what an adventure. I vote we don't come up here again. But as you may guess, they did. And tomorrow they will see who they find in the faraway tree. See you later. Bye.